Well, hello, welcome again to our reading of the Greek New Testament, and I'm reading the book of Revelation, chapter 19, and I got up to verse 11. Kai eden ton uranon, eini oigmenon kai idu hippos lukos, kai hokathemenos ebauton kaluminos pistos kai alethenos, kai en dikaiosune krine kai poleme. And I saw the heaven. Now here we've got this very strange form with a triple augment from anoigo. This is a perfect passive participle. They've augmented the alpha in the ana, they've augmented the oi, and they've put an extra augment as well. But as I've mentioned before, this verb has been mucked around with quite a bit even in earlier times. So I saw the heaven having been opened, kai idu, and behold, a hippos lukos, a white horse, kai hokathemenos, and the one sitting upon it, and then we get in brackets kaluminos, literally being called, pistos kai alethinos, faithful and true, and krine, he judges. That use of en meaning with, so with righteousness, kai poleme from polemeo, and he makes war. Hoi de ophthalmoi autou, hos phlox puros, kai epiten kephalen autou, diademata pola. I'll just pause it there, it goes to a new page. And his eyes, in square brackets hos, were like a phlox is a flame. We get that medieval term phlogiston from this. So phlox is a flame, and puros, genitive, from pur, of fire. So his eyes were like a flame of fire. Kai epiten kephalen autou, and upon his head were pola diademata, were many diadems. Ekon, onoma, and then so having a name, gegramenon, perfect passive participle, inscribed or having been written, perfect passive participle again from Grapho, ho udes oiden eime autos, which no one knew, eime or knows I should say, eime except he himself. Kai peribeblemenos himation bebamenon haimati, kai kekletai to onoma autou to logos to theou. And now we have to understand he was here, and he was clothed in a garment. Bebamenon is a perfect passive participle. It's from the verb bapto, but it's the base root from baptizo, to baptize, but it means to dip. So bapto, it's dipped haimati in blood. So the root of bapto is bap, and then the pi, which is a labial, turns into a nasal labial, which is a mu, before the mu in the ending. So it's perfectly regular form, but it just looks a bit odd. It's from bapto if you're looking it up. So it's dipped haimati in blood. Kai kekletai to onoma autou. So his name, the name of him, kekletai, is a perfect passive, has been called, we would just say is called, hologos to theou, the word of God. So just to do that bit again there, so he was, have to understand, he was clothed in a garment dipped in blood, having been dipped in blood, and the name of him, so his name is called the word of God. Kai ta stratumata, ta in brackets ento urano ekoluthe auto, ef hippois lukois, en dedumenoi businon lukon katharon. Stratumata. Stratuma is an army. This is the plural here. So the armies, and then in brackets ta, the ones in heaven. Now here again we've got neuter plural followed by singular verb. Sometimes he puts a plural verb, sometimes he follows the usual grammar and puts singular, which is what we have here. So the armies in heaven, this is from Acoluthio, were following, and it takes a dative him, and they were hippois leukois. It's something like, well, we would say in English mounted upon, it's just upon, but perhaps mounted upon white horses. Endedomenon, this is from Enduo, having been clothed in, now we get the same expression, businon lukon katharon, in linen which is white and pure. Before we had, I think, lampron, here we get lukon. So clothed in white pure linen, kai ectu stomatus autu ekporuatai romphea oxea, hina enaute pataxe ta ethne, kai autos poimane autus in rabdo sidera. So, and from his mouth an oxea romphea. Now, a romphea is a word meaning a sword. It's probably connected with the verb rembamai, or rembo, to whir, or to make a whirring noise. This is probably a Macedonian word. It's not the usual word for sword. It's quite a rare one, but it's one that does turn up regularly in the Septuagint and the New Testament. It may be it may have come from the Macedonian dialect, which was brought, of course, by Alexander the Great's soldiers when they came across into Asia. So, so from his mouth proceeds forth a sharp romphea, a sharp sword. It's feminine, so we get oxea from oxus, third declension adjective, in order that en aute, I think that means with it, that's the romphea, that with it, pataxe, subjunctive, from patasso is to strike, that he might strike ta ethne, the nations. Kai autos poimane, and you notice the accent, this is from poimino, with an iota in here, and this is a future. So you can see that the accent here gives you the hint that it might be a future. When you look it up, you see it's poimino, so you get a vowel gradation here. So he himself will shepherd them in rabdos sidara, with his iron rabdos staff or stick. And rabdos, although it ends in os, it's a second declension feminine noun, which is why you've got a feminine adjective with it. Kai autos pate ten lenon to oinu, to thumu tes oiges to theou, to panta kratoros. So, and he himself, now patio is to walk, but we get peripatio to walk around, patio is to walk, but in this context here with tain lenon, it must mean treads on, or treads the wine press. Treads the wine press of the wine of the wrath of the anger of God. We've seen this funny expression before earlier in this work. So he himself treads the winepress of the wine of the wrath of the anger of God, to Pantokratoros, the one who rules all. It's the genitive of Pantokrator. Again, you can see the commentaries to get, perhaps they might expound a bit more about this use of thumos and orgas, which are really synonyms in Greek, but perhaps put here like in this way for emphasis. Kai eke epitochimation kai epiton meron autu onoma gegramenon, basileus basileon kai kurios kurion. And he has on his garment, and on his meros, that's his thigh, a name inscribed, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Kai edon hina angelon histota into helio, kai ekraxen inferne megale, legon passin tois orneois, tois petomenois in mesuranemati, duty sunaktheti es todepnon tom megatoutheu. And I saw one angel, histota, standing, this is accusative participle from histemi, literally in the sun, or perhaps on the sun, kai ekraxen, and he cried out. Now this is an aorist from Krasdo, the stem is crag, so you get a psi here, and he cried out with a great voice, saying, Passin tois orneus, to all the orneois. Now this is from, it's a neuter second declension, orneon. It's not the usual word for bird, which is ornis. This is a later word meaning, same meaning, bird, just an alternate form. So it's orneon, second declension, neuter. So he cried out in a great voice, speaking to all the birds, and then in opposition to that, to those flying from Petami, for those flying in Mesuremati. Now this is quite a rare word. It's from Mesuranema, if you're looking it up. It means the middle of heaven. The meaning's clear. It's from Mesos and Uranos, so the mid-heaven. It's a very rare and late word. It occurs in Manetho, one of the later writers who writes on Egypt, etc. But it is a rare word and late. Come. Now this is an aorist passive here, imperative. So be gathered. So aorist passive imperative with the theti ending. So come, be gathered to the feast, or to the great dinner of God, to the great feast, the great banquet perhaps of God. Hina, in order that phageti sarkas basileon, kai sarkas kiliakon, kai sarkas iskuron, kai sarkas hippon, kai ton kathemenon ebauton, kai sarkas panton eleutheron, tetudulon, kai mikron, kai megalon. Slightly gory verse here. In order that phageti is an aorist subjunctive from esthio. The aorist is ephagon. In order that you might eat the sarkas, the flesh of kings, basileon, the flesh of kiliarchs. These are rulers of who rule 1,000. It's really a military term, just translated as kiliarchs. And the flesh of the strong, and the flesh of horses, and understand the flesh of those sitting upon them, that is the horses. So to eat the flesh of horses and those sitting upon them, and the flesh of all free men, eleutheroi, and douloi, and of slaves, and of the smallest of the least, and of the greatest. Kai edon totherion, kai tus basiles tes ges kai ta stratiumata auton sun eg mena poiesai ton polymon metatu kathemenu epitu hippu kai metatu stratiumatos autu. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth. Now basileis, you do get basileas in Attic Greek for the accusative plural. but the ace is becoming more and more just the nominative and accusative plural for some of these verbs in eos. So this is accusative here. So the kings of the earth and their armies, sun ag mena. This is again a perfect passive neuter participle from sun ago. From sun ago. So you're getting up. It's a perfect because you get an augment here for places of reduplication, and it's neuter agreeing with tas stratumata, their armies, gathered to make war with the one sitting upon the horse and with his army. So just to quickly do that bit again. And so I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together, and then we get an infinitive for purpose here, so as to make war with the one sitting upon the horse and with his army. Kai epiaste to therion kai metau tu hop pseudo prophetes hopoiesis ta semea and opion out tu. I'll just pause it there. Now this is from piasdo, is to seize, grab hold of. It can also mean to press hard upon. In classical Greek it's piesdo, but this appears to be a Doric form of piesdo, which has the same meaning as this is piasdo if you're looking it up. So this is the aorist passive from piasdo, means to press hard upon, to grab hold of. So he pressed hard upon the beast, or perhaps seized, this might be better here. He seized the beast and with him the pseudo-prophetes, the false prophet, the one having made ta semea, the signs, aorist participle here, enopion, before him, en hois, or again that use of en meaning by which, eplanesen from planao, he led astray tus labontas, those having taken, aorist participle from lambano, those having taken to charagma, to theriu kai tus proskuntas te iconi autu. So those having taken the charagma, this was the sign of the beast, and those worshipping, it takes a dative, the image of him, so his image. Tsontes eblethesan hoi duo es ten limnen tu puros tes kaiomenes en theo. And while still alive, the two, that is the beast and the false prophet, eblethesan, aorist passive from bellow, they were cast, or they were thrown es ten limnen, into the lake. We get two words that are often confused, because limne is a lake and limain is a harbour. This one's the lake. So the two of them were thrown into the lake, to puros, of fire, of burning fire. Now this is this is a feminine participle here agreeing with limne. This is a passive participle from kaio. So it's the lake of fire, the lake which is burning, or perhaps being burnt, in theo, with theos is sulfur. With sulfur. So just to quickly do that again. So while still alive, the two of them were cast into the lake of the fire, the lake which was burning, or perhaps was set on fire almost, with sulfur. Kai hoi loipoi apectanthesan enteron thea tu kathemenu epi tu hippu te ex elthusei ek tu stomatos autou kai panta ta ornia ekor tethesan ek tu sarkon autou. And the remainder, the rest, apoktanthesan. This is an aorist passive from apoktano, which we have seen before. As I mentioned in classical Greek, they would use a different word here for the passive. They'd use apothnesko, I think, but here it's the aorist passive from apoktano. They were killed with the sword. That's that rhomphaia we mentioned before. This probably Macedonian word for sword. So they were killed with by the sword of the one sitting upon the horse. And then te ex elthusei is feminine participle agreeing with rhomphaia. So the sword which was coming out of his mouth. Kaipanta ta ornia. Now this again is a neuter from orneon. It's a second declension neuter noun, not the usual word for bird, but another synonym. So orneon is the nominative. So and all the birds, ekortestesan, this is from chortasdo, to be satisfied in terms of eating. So they were satisfied from their flesh. So just to do that last bit again, so the remainder were killed with the sword of the one sitting upon the horse by the sword which came out from his mouth. And all the birds, well, we might say had their fill, would be a try to get the passive in here, had their, and the sense of it, all the birds had their fill from their flesh. A rather gory end to chapter 19.